Alright everybody, I wanted to make a quick screencast capture of all the things that are in Final Cut Pro. Mainly this first video is going to be about where everything is, how to get to things, and how to get back to things, because there's a lot of windows that slide in and out or disappear or come and go. I'm here to make sure that you can find them and find them quickly. So this is kind of a walkthrough of what Final Cut Pro has to offer. So let me get myself off here and let's get into it. You'll notice my left clicks are green and my right clicks are blue. So keep track of that. Here we go. To show off first, once you get into Final Cut Pro, it's very quick and it remembers where what you're working on. So if you plug in your hard drive, it will come up with things that you've been working on. If you go to another machine and plug in the same hard drive, it should also remember things that you've been working on. Starting with upper left, you've got what's called the event library. Think of this as kind of where each of your ideas or assignments for this class go. If you look at some of mine, I have a little mini project I called 30 Days that's in there. If I click on it, it gives me a rundown of clips that I have. These are all clips, and it shows me where I can watch them over in the viewer and above. I have one called the audio slideshow. Notice that it has a little alert symbol here. It's like a little road sign. Watch out! It's because some of those pieces are missing. If I click on them, they have the big red missing. I don't know what it is or what it is. So be it. I'm not going to use that one. Here's one I did for the Consumer Electronics Show. You can see it again. Here's the bumper. It's highlighted right here. And so because it's highlighted, I'm seeing it up here. And I can scrub through it. And it's seeing it over here as well in the viewer. This is very versatile area right here, this viewer that we're talking about right here that I'm swinging, because it comes into play all throughout all the stuff we do, whether we're looking at stuff in our kind of our browser or whether we're looking at stuff somewhere else.
Are you guys ready? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
So there the video plays full size right here, but it's still in my browser. It's not down on a timeline or anywhere else. That's just more of like viewing. Okay, yeah, that guy was pretty cool. So think of those events as per project. I have one for CES. I have one for this class. Has a whole bunch of great stuff in it. I have one for some side work that I do, and one that I just put in a bunch of random stuff, like I did a time lapse recently, and this is like a big string together of video for a time lapse that I did somewhere in here. So I can just kind of tell where I am on this. Just clicking around and play it. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Okay, simple stuff. Let me show you quickly. I can move this event library out of the way by clicking this small arrow. See, it's got an arrow pointing left to show or hide. Everything, by the way, on Final Cut Pro, if you want to know what's going on, or you want to know what a certain tool does or what a certain button does, just hover over it for a second like this one over here. I'm going to hover, shows me show or hide event library. Click on it, event library slides off to the side. So I have more real estate to work with other things. So part of the key to this is knowing what you have when you have it. Okay, I'll get out of the way again. Here we go. So that gives me more room for other clips in this particular project. So I'm going to open up that event library, and what I'm going to build next for you guys is actually going to land under a whole new event. So I can start into making a new event by doing File, New Event. And then I have a choice to import some files or import from the camera. And in the next video, we'll take that process and go through that. We'll give this a name, and this is the next project that I'm working on called Woven. So I just gave it a name over here, but we'll go through this how-to in the next video. Okay, so we've talked about events. Pick one again so we can kind of go through the browser. This has two different looks. Notice down here I have one. If I hover, it says Show Clips in List View. Next to it is Clips in Film Strip View. This may be familiar to some of you that may have come from iMovie or other things. Clip View breaks everything down into this kind of really crazy, like, video clip with audio waveforms. Not my preferred way to work, but if you're visual person, or if you for some reason need to have something that gaudy, you can. Down here you can control, watch where I click, you can control the duration of the film strip. If I go all the way over here, it does one thumbnail per image per clip. That's probably the way it'd work if I did work at all in this view, is that I would say, show me one clip per thing. This is some cute stuff. So then again, one click on the particular file puts it over in the viewer where I can then play it and watch it. Those are my beautiful ladies at Inspiration Falls. Again, sliding this slider back, I can get it to show me film strip view, which is the same clips. It's just showing me how long they are comparatively to each other. Again, my preferred way to work is this way. I would much rather have things named and ready to go, so I can click on them, know exactly what I'm looking at, have the same place to kind of grab pieces or images, right? So I can kind of grab through here and have things ready to go. That's my preferred way to do it. So actually one more thing I'll show you over here. Again, event library. This little gear, all gears in Final Cut 10 are kind of a settings section. So I'm going to click this gear, and it's letting me know that I can group things by disk, I can group things by date, or I can show the date ranges in the library. So if I do date, watch what happens. I'll come over. Right now it says, don't group events by date. If I change that and I say, well, show me year and month, watch what happens. Boom. Breaks it down, and it says, apparently one of the things that I made was next year. Strange. Things that are being done in February, things that are done from January, things from last year. So this is showing me by date. I don't do that much stuff that I'm going to get all sorts confused. I don't think you're going to do that much stuff in this class, so selecting that don't group by date gives you kind of a cleaner view. But what you do want to make sure you have selected is events by disk. I'll take that off real quick, and you'll notice that it shows all the events, but it doesn't tell me where they are or where they're saved to. If I put that back on, you'll notice at the top I have Macintosh HD and a disclosure arrow. If I toggle that up, it hides all those events. For instance, if I put in a couple of external drives and I want to work on some projects off of this hard drive or on somewhere else, I can hide these so that I only have exactly what I need. Pretty simple. I'm going to drop that down again. You will probably have another one underneath Macintosh HD, which will be your own external drive. And that's where you're going to be putting your projects. Again, when we walk through that next portion, I'll show you how to do that, make sure it's done right. Okay, here's where your project stuff lands. So this is kind of like your, think of this as like your paint box. If you're a painter and you're going to make a beautiful picture, this is your paint box. Everything is in here. Anything you're going to use, images, sound, audio, video, all of it's in here. Next to it, and I can shrink this up. Notice if I hang on to that for a second, you see my little stretcher bar there. I just click, and here we go. I can resize that so that the viewer is larger. Come over to the right here. You may or may not see on yours what's called an inspector. It's actually attached to this eye right here. Watch what happens when I click eye. Boom. Disappears. Eye again. Slides back out. Eye is the inspector. It's important for different files. Notice, as I click on different files, the inspector changes over here and it tells me exactly what I'm working on. So to get the right visual on this, let's go over to the time lapse and I click time lapse. Over on the inspector, you'll see, dun, dun, dun. Excellent. There's the time lapse under the inspector. You can see it right over here. It also tells me that here's the info for video, or I can click on this little button and get some different info. Some of these pieces over here, if you see me come back over and I click a piece of video, I now have a tab over on the inspector for audio. And I can look at the audio of that piece, whether I have audio, what kind of audio, if I need to fix audio. So this inspector's it's helpful, especially when you get down into the timeline area to do some editing. You want to know what your pieces are doing. But for now, know that that's where it's found. And if you don't have it and you need it, you just toggle that eye back and forth. Okay? So I'm going to make some room up top. Here's how I make it. I'm going to get rid of the inspector for now. I'm going to come back over here. Since I've already chosen my project, I'm going to get rid of the event library. Now I've got two things on the top and one on the bottom. and I'll talk about this one, and we'll be done with this video. Hang in there. Over here in the project library, I have again my hard drive and a couple of different folders where my projects are residing. This class I've got one called EDM2810. If I drop that arrow down, it'll take a second and it'll pull up all the different things that I have under that project. You'll see there are lectures, slideshows, codecs, other things, all in there. If I want to work on one of those, it's as easy as doing a quick and easy. Boom, double click. It will slide over and put that in the timeline for me. There is my project. Notice that I'm going to go in a little closer on this by using the plus to minus here. See, I can kind of zoom in down here on the right. This is how I get around. I can zoom in. There's also a key command for that, and it's command minus command plus to kind of zoom around on things. But this isn't what I want to work on. I want to work on a new one. I'll show you how to do that. But watch when I lay down my playhead, I just click anywhere. Anywhere I click, my playhead comes to me. That playhead corresponds with what frame you see up into the main viewer now. I'm looking at the actual project.
Of them, right? And a lot of that stuff was the codecs that they were using, the things that they would have, you'd have to download.
Spacebar stops. Okay, pretty simple stuff there. So let's go back into our project library so we can finish talking about that. Notice where I hit. I just hover over this if you get confused or if you forget. And it has a little arrow pointing right now with a film strip in it. If you pick a project, it's a film strip with a little arrow pointing left. Kind of the indent is pointing left. So I'm going to go back to my project library. If I'm going to be doing something for this class, I'm going to highlight that particular folder. Whether or not it's open or closed doesn't matter. But if I want to add something, if I want to make a new one, I want to start from scratch, which you will be doing most of the time, I'm going to come down here to the plus sign. If you want to make a new folder for your stuff, like you're going to do something for my class, something for your personal project, something for your dog, you can make new folders just by clicking on new folder. And it works just like a browser. I'm going to hit plus on this one, and it's going to ask a couple of questions. It's going to say, what are you working on? Where is it going to go? And yeah, how big is it? So these are pretty simple. So I'm going to call this one test. It's going into default event, which we talked about up here. Remember, these are events. Miscellaneous is the event. Starting time code, usually don't have to worry about. Video properties set automatically based on the first video clip. Again, best way to do it. If I'm going to drop a piece of video in there, chances are that a majority of the things I'm going to be using will match that size of video. So might as well set all the properties based on that. And we'll get way more into detail on that in the weeks to come. Okay, I'm just going to hit OK. And it slides over and it gives me a project called test. So main two things we're talking about here in Final Cut Pro. Two major things, events and projects. Events can hold multiple projects, okay? So for instance, I have a folder and an event for this class. I have an EDM2810 event. Inside that event, I have 5 or 6 different projects. So those are two words you're going to need to know because I'll use them often. Inside your event, you can have multiple projects. A project is a single timeline, a single video. For instance, if you do something for, say, audio project 1 and audio project 2, and maybe you shoot them at the same time, you could have an event called audio project and 2 separate projects that you build underneath of that. You could also do an event for each individual thing that you do. It's very simple. It's just a matter of terminology. Events can have multiple projects. Projects are essentially timelines. As you'll see down here, this is kind of an open timeline to put things on. Pretty simple. Over on the right side, then you see volume meters. Easy to keep track of what kind of music or how loud things are, and so everything kind of comes across nice and even. And I'll get out of the way so you can see other quick tips of things to look for. This is time code, so I'm going to jump back into my project library real quick as we wrap this up. And I'm going to grab one of the ones I've worked on recently, perhaps my time lapse. Here's the time lapse. It's really simple. It's one file. You'll notice that as I click on it, right here, you can see. I'm just clicking so that you can see it, but basically, this is the time. I'm at 2 seconds. I'm at 4 seconds. I'm at 6 seconds and 22 frames. So that's all right here in the center. Over on the right, you've got a bunch of different options that will toggle out. Remember, the far right is the inspector. It pops out up there. Everything else pops out below. The T, as you would expect. Again, the hover to tell me what I'm looking at. Show or hide titles. I click on it, out pop some titles, and I can kind of sample some of these just by, I'm not even clicking, notice, I'm just hovering over them. Give it a second, and it kind of gives me a chance to go, oh, that's cool, look at what it does. Whoop. And if I want to use one, I click and drag. I'm not clicking yet. This is just hovering. This is called skimming. If I skim over stuff, it kind of gives me an idea. As soon as I come off of it, it takes me right back to what I am looking at, which is my project. But it's pretty simple to grab one of these, drag it over, and let go. And it just lays on top. Oh, there's the title. I don't want it. I'm going to highlight it and delete it. We'll get into that in our next video, but I wanted to let you know that's how you pop these windows out. If it's blue, it means it's out. If you click on it again, it disappears. Same thing works for your transitions. Whoosh, gone. Audio, images, and other filters that you may want or effects you want to add. Okay, I think we've got just about everything covered. Over here, you'll see a drop down for different tools. Okay, take a look at that. You can drop down for blades, for trimming, for range selection. I work a lot with my arrow. You'll notice that if I want to go to something else, I actually will use these hotkeys on the side, and I will teach you those as we go along. We don't use them very often. You have here some options we'll go into when we get into editing, how to put things into the timeline. And then also importing from a device, you can import from the camera right here. So if I click on this, it's going to bring up a window and my camera. I'm going to take my camera off so you don't have to look at that. Okay. Notice here that it shows me I have a card, and here's where I can grab some of the stuff from the card. This is stuff that we'll go through, and he's looking good. So again, I'm going to close that out, but that's where we can go through in our next video. I've taken way too much of your time. I was almost 20 minutes to just show you what all this stuff is, and I didn't even hit it all. Oh boy, what else? Got that, good. I can use the little light switch down here to change my clip appearance. That's going to go for this whole project down here at the bottom area. All I have to do is clip appearance, and it changes how big the video is, or whether it's just tiny. Maybe I don't need to see it down there. Maybe I just want to edit this way. Or maybe I want to see just audio, which this piece has no audio. But those are choices that you could make in adjusting how big that clip is. And if you want to cut, I call this the Fisher-Price cut, and then, like, you know, normal cut. So that's just underneath this light switch, and there are light switches you'll find other places as well, like up here at the right. Again, display things. I want to show some title safe zones. Look, I just put on some safety zones so I can know where I'm cutting on TV. You learn all that stuff too, I hope. So, before I run over 20 minutes, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, send me an email, tweet me. I'll try and answer some questions, and if I find that this little tutorial is very lacking, well, if that's the case, I'll do it again. I think I covered just about everything that you need to know. Basically, key components. I'll bring one back out here again. Just click on the far left side. The event library, hiding, bringing it back out. Your browser for where all your stuff is. And then your viewer and the inspector, which can toggle in and out depending on what's selected. Notice I have to select something before it'll even come up over in the inspector. And then the main portion down here at the bottom behind me is the project window where you're actually building things. And to get in and out of those projects, you come through some of these. Notice I double click on that one, and it opens up another browser. I like to see the whole thing, so I can come down here and I can shrink and expand just by dragging that knob, or I can use my favorite, Command minus. Notice I'm being smaller, or Command plus to get bigger. Okay? Pretty simple stuff.
Morgan Spurlock. And try something new for 30 days.
So, there you have it. Enjoy your fun time with Final Cut 10. And again, any questions, comments, ideas, tweet me at night20 or send me an email. Okay, that's pretty much it. That's everything I've got for you to kind of show you all that's here, kind of at the dashboard of Final Cut 10. It's not really stuff behind the scenes or under the hood. This is just the basics, where to find things. Hopefully you'll learn some of this and be able to use it as we go forward and dive a little bit deeper. Thanks.